Kaya mo, duha ka adlaw. Sige. Boss, kamusta na boss?
Nangihingi? Nangihingi ako.
Lahat naman tayo.
Si Orne ayaw magbigay.
Lahat naman tayo, nangihingi talaga eh.
Ha?
Bingo.
Ay, akin na yung listahan ng Vice Chair, ng sponsors. Yung pinagawa kanina. Wow, sulat. Sino sulat mo to?
Si Ate Erling. Wala, maganda rin ako magsulat.
Sino magbabasa? Si Chairman Dino Comseca. Ikaw na, dito. Okay lang ako sa mama. Si Chairman yan. Marami kayo dito. Natandaan mo. Marami nga eh. 14 siguro.
Hindi naman. 14 dito.
Dami to.
Hindi.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
10. 10 lang.
Ganda na sulat. Readable. Readable.
Ayaw niya sa akin, hindi rito.
O yung list of, yung mga members.
Manifestation lang naman daw po siya.
Pero naman hindi ka naman madito. Akin ba to kanina? No?
Di ba nga dito?
Si Alan P.
Hindi na. Dati, sabi ko sa kanya, pumasok kita na.
Hindi nag-uusap na sila ba? Ngayon, kung sakali, papatapusin ko na natin lahat. Bago pag-motion ko. Para isa tanong ka lang. Kung pipilitin niya, kung di mahihilot. Morning. May we request everyone to please settle down. We will start the budget hearing shortly. Step. Walang book. Test mic. Good morning. May we request everyone to please settle down, and we will begin with the budget hearing shortly.
This budget hearing is hereby resumed. Committee Secretary, please acknowledge the research persons and guests present today from the Department of Public Works and Highways.
May we request the officials of the Department of Public Works and Highways to please acknowledge when your name is mentioned. Thank you.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. At this point, the House of Representatives, through the Committee on Appropriations, would like to welcome the distinguished men and women from the DPWH. We have first on the list is Secretary Manuel M. Bonoan, sir. We have Senior Undersecretary Emmanuel K. Sadain, Undersecretary Eugenio R. Pipo Jr., the Regional Operations in CAR, Regions 1 to 9 to 13. Undersecretary Roberto R. Bernardo for Regional Operations in CAR, Regions 3, 4A, 4B, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We have also Undersecretary Eric A. Ayapana for operations in charge of convergence projects. Undersecretary Ardelisa A. Medenilia for support services. Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral for planning and public-private partnership service. Undersecretary Carlos G. Mutuk, Special Concerns and Chief of Staff, Office of the Secretary. Undersecretary Ador G. Canlas, Technical Services and Information Management Service. Undersecretary Anne Charlene G. Lapus for Legal Service. Assistant Secretary Joy M. Manginsay, Legislative Liaison Office. Assistant Secretary Ray Peter B. Gillie, Regional Operations in CAR, Regions 1 to 9 to 13. Assistant Secretary Meljan Verzosa, Legal Service. Assistant Secretary Marichu A. Palafox, Support Services. Assistant Secretary Constante A. Llanes Jr., Planning Service. Assistant Secretary Neri D. Bueno, Regional Operations in NCR Regions 3, 4A, 4B, and 5 to 8. Then lastly, we have Assistant Secretary Medier G. Malik Jr., Technical Services and Information Management Service. And also would like to welcome the regional directors from the different regions. Also, we would like to welcome the honorable representatives. We have here Deputy Speaker Christine Singson Mihan, Deputy Majority Leader Wilter Y. Palma, Deputy Majority Leader Marlene Primicias Agabas, Deputy Majority Leader Franz Pumaren, Deputy Majority Leader Jose Bong Teves Jr., Minority Leader Marcelino C. Libanan, Senior Deputy Minority Leader Paul Ruiz Daza, Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro, and Deputy Minority Leader Mujib Hataman. We also have Deputy Minority Leader Bernadette B.H. Herrera. We have Vice Chair Luisa Loren Quaresma, Vice Chair Chodorico T. Jaresco Jr., Vice Chair Joseph Jojo Lara, Vice Chair Romeo S. Momo Sr., Vice Chair Ronald V. Singson. We also have Representatives Yasser Alonto Balindong, Representative Edgardo M. Chato, Assistant Minority Leader Marisa Magsino, Representative Allen Jess Mangawang, Representative Joseph Stephen Caraps Paduano, Representative Salvador Pleito, Representative Rosana Ria Vergara, Representative Loreto Acharon, Representative Mohamed Kalin Dimaporo, Representative Antonio A. Ferrer, Representative Isidro D. Lumawag, Representative Raul Daniel Manuel, Representative Mohamed Paglas, Representative Celso Regencia, Representative Ron Salo, Representative Lordan Suwan, Representative Reynolds Michael T. Tan. In addition, would like to welcome Representative Jaime Fresnedi and Representative Ching Bernos.
Representative Bonifacio Busita.
Also, Representative Bonifacio Busita and Vice Chair Natasha Ko. That's all, Madam Chair.
Jojo.
Sino pa?
Joseph Tan. Ay, Representative Joseph Tan.
Also would like to welcome Representative Joseph Tan.
Good morning, distinguished colleagues, and welcome to the Department of Public Works and Highways family, headed by Secretary Manuel Bonoan. One of the keys to continuing economic growth is a properly designed infrastructure program. The DPWH plays a vital role in its development and implementation. The Government Infrastructure Program is the engine that propels our economy during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Infrastructure investments create jobs. When we undertake major infrastructure projects, we put countless people to work, from engineers and construction workers to suppliers and service providers. This surge in employment boosts household income, stimulates consumer spending, and fuels economic growth. To maintain the growth momentum and to arrest the lingering impact of the pandemic on the economy, the government seeks to continue and expand the golden age of infrastructure under the Build Better, More program of the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Of the total of 1.42 trillion pesos allocated under the BBM program, the DPWH will implement 821.1 billion pesos as her proposed budget in 2024, primarily to construct, maintain, and rehabilitate roads and bridges nationwide under the Network Development Program, Asset Preservation Program, and Bridge Program. The proposed budget is the second highest allocation in the fiscal year 2024 national budget. As the department proposes today, we must also address issues in the infrastructure maintenance and construction of roads and bridges nationwide. These challenges are often rooted in inadequate funding and delayed implementation of projects, leaving us with crumbling roads and aging bridges that endanger lives and hinder economic progress. The DPWH plays an increasingly vital role in ensuring that projects are completed on time, within budget, and to the highest standards of safety and quality. We must support their efforts, provide the necessary resources, and foster innovation to ensure that our infrastructure is functional, but also environmentally friendly and resilient. It is our collective responsibility to recognize their contribution, appreciate their dedication, and work together to create a brighter future for all. Maraming salamat po. So at this point, I'd like to introduce your budget sponsors. Your lead sponsor is our Appropriations Chair, the Honorable Elizalde Co. The co-sponsors are the following: Vice Chair Ronald Singson, Vice Chair Romeo Momo, Vice Chair Luisa Lloren Quaresma, Vice Chair Jojo Lara, Vice Chair Jose Alvarez, Vice Chair Eric Martinez, Vice Chair Bingo Matugas, Vice Chair JJ Suarez, Vice Chair Midi Gua, and Vice Chair Jose Aquino. And at this point, I would like to yield the chair to the Honorable Ronald Singson.
Thank you, ma'am. At this point, At this point, I'd like to recognize Secretary Manuel Boron. You may now proceed with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Distinguished members of the House of Representatives, in response to the invitation of the Chair of the Committee on Appropriations for his invitation for the Department of Public Works and Highways, Your Honor, we are here together with the leadership and members of the Management Committee of the Department of Public Works and Highways to present the proposed budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways for fiscal year 2024. At this point, first of all, I would like to extend our deepest appreciation to the members of Congress for working with us over the years. And at this point in time, we'd like to continue the partnership in implementing the infrastructure program of the department, as envisioned also by the President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. under the Build Better More program. At this point, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to make a presentation, brief presentation on the major aspects of the proposed budget of the department. Your indulgence, I think the department has furnished actually the members of Congress a copy of the briefing materials that we have prepared for this morning presentation. Let me start, Mr. Chair, that the budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways is based under the Marcos administration's 8-point socioeconomic agenda in the near and medium term. Let me emphasize that the preparation of the proposed budget, infrastructure budget of the department has gone through a process in the executive branch. And this is well discussed actually in the cabinet, and eventually this has been incorporated in the National Expenditure Program that was actually submitted by the President to Congress for its consideration. Nonetheless, maybe I would like to point out that again, the infrastructure program will concentrate in some of the aspects of the 8-point socioeconomic agenda of the President for purposes of ensuring food security and reduce transport and logistic costs by improving infrastructure and increasing employability of and establish livable and sustainable communities. The Department of Public Works and Highways function under Executive Order 124 is the engineering and construction arm of government tasked to continuously develop its technology for the purpose of ensuring the safety of all infrastructure facilities and securing for all public works and highways the highest efficiency and quality in construction. The Department of Public Works and Highways is responsible for the planning, design, construction, and maintenance of infrastructure, especially the national highways, flood control and water resources development system, and other public works in accordance with national development objectives. The department's vision, actually, if you may, Your Honor, by 2040, The department is an excellent government agency enabling comfortable life for Filipinos through safe, reliable, and resilient infrastructure. Our outcomes that we are talking about is actually to reduce travel time, improve road network quality and safety, and lives and properties protected from natural resources. We have to enhance road network systems and meeting international standards, provide engineering solutions to road network and quality and safety, and build disaster-resilient infrastructure. In 20, from July 2022 to May 2023, Your Honors, the Department of Public Works and Highways was able to construct, maintained, rehabilitated, widened, and upgraded 4,082 kilometers of roads. This includes, of course, national and other local roads. We were able to implement and maintain and rehabilitated 497 bridges. We have implemented 2,103 flood control projects. We have completed the implementation of 6,000 rainwater collector system, and we have implemented 216 kilometers of farm-to-market roads, 8 kilometers of farm-to-mill roads. These were actually from the capital outlays given by the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Agrarian Reform. And of course, we have also implemented 4,038 classrooms from the budget of the Department of Education. Among the major accomplishments within that period were in the screen or in your handouts. We presented some of the major accomplishments like the Abosag Bridge in Cagayan, the implementation of Daang Maharlika in Aritao, Nueva Vizcaya, the bridge in Pampanga, San Francisco Bridge in Tarlac, Samar Pacific Coastal Road in the Samar areas. And of course, we have undertaken several road projects in the growth corridors in Mindanao, flood control management projects in Cagayan de Oro, flood control in Aurora, and many other projects, Your Honors, that we have actually implemented during this period. Now, let me go to the fund utilization report from January to July 2023 for the current budget. But I have to make a presentation actually for the January to December program for January to December 2022, Your Honors. The total allotment that we have received for this year, January to July 2023, amounts to about 975.9 billion pesos. For the current year, we have received 943.9 billion pesos, and for prior years, 32.0 billion pesos. Comparatively, in last year, we received from January to December the total amount of 898.1 billion pesos. The current year allocation of 820.3 billion pesos and 77.8 billion pesos. I have to clarify that the current year amount that we are talking about includes the regular program of the department and plus the other allotments that we have received from the other agencies, Your Honor. In terms of obligations, for the current year, January to July, out of we have obligated 781.9 billion pesos, which is for the current year 766.1 billion pesos, and for prior years 15.8 billion pesos. In terms of disbursements, we have disbursed from January to July this year, 2023, the amount of 509.9 billion pesos. From the current year, 312.4 billion pesos, and for prior years, 197.5 billion pesos. This represents about 81% of between the obligation and the allotment that we have received, Your Honor. And in terms of disbursements against obligations, this is 41%, Your Honor, as against our target of 45%. Of course, the utilization rate of cash allocation that we have received of 507.8 billion pesos from January to July, which we received 507.8 billion pesos. The cash utilization is 470.8 billion pesos, about 90% of the total cash that we have received. We have already utilized from January to July, Your Honor. Let me just point out that the infrastructure program of the department is aligned with the Philippine Development Plan for 2023 to 2028 that would address traffic congestions, seamless, inclusive connectivity via national and local linkages, and resilient and sustainable communities. Under the the congestion program, we will continue to implement high-standard highways and expressways. We will have to implement bypasses and diversion roads, flyovers, interchanges, and underpasses. Under seamless and inclusive connectivity via national and local linkages, we will put some priorities along the Daang Maharlika Highway, which is the backbone of the national highway, all the way from Lawag, Cagayan, Bicol, and all the way through to Zamboanga. This is about more than 3,000 kilometers. We will implement major inter-island linkage bridges, and we will address gaps and missing links along national roads. Of course, we will have to continue to develop the nautical highways and continue to implement convergence programs with the Department of Tourism, Department of Transportation, the Department of Trade and Industry, and the Department of Agriculture. Under resilient and sustainable communities, we will have to implement integrated water resources management program in order to address flood mitigation in many parts of the country through flood mitigation structures in major river basins and principal rivers. We have to implement also water impounding projects, rainwater collectors, and drainage capacity improvement. We have to address disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation program through national bridge rehabilitation and seismic improvement, road network redundancy projects, rehabilitation, retrofitting of public buildings, especially school buildings, health facilities, and other government structures. And in social infrastructure program, we will continue to implement evacuation centers, basic education facilities from the DepEd budget, infrastructure projects in support to national peace and security. And in the area of active transport program, we will continue to implement bike lanes networks and pedestrian infrastructure. Now let me proceed to present actually the trend of the DPWH budget allocations from 2016 to what we are going to present for 2024. And you will note, Your Honors, that it has been continuously increasing, actually, the budget allocation for the Department of Public Works and Highways. Well, it is noticeable that in 2019, there was a significant reduction in the budget allocation of the department of only about 454 billion pesos, comparatively to 2018, which is already about 650 billion pesos. But this continued to increase in 2020 by 581 billion, in 2021, 695.7 billion. In 2022, it's 786.6 billion, and in 2023, it went up to 894.2 billion pesos. And for the proposed budget in 2024, it will be, the total budget that we're presenting will be about 822.2 billion pesos under the National Expenditure Program, Your Honor. Also, we'd like to present actually the allocation for the capital outlays. Again, from 2016 to what we are presenting for the 2024 National Expenditure Program, it will be noticed that the bulk of the capital outlays would have been dedicated to highways and flood control and other infrastructure projects, Your Honor. You will notice that capital outlays for there has been increases in the allocation of capital outlays under the National Expenditure Program. From 2022 to 2023, it increased by 14%, but for 2024, there's going to be a reduction of about 11%, Your Honor. Now, may I now present actually the proposed breakdown of the proposed 2024 budget, Your Honor. As you can see on the screen or your handouts, the total, as I said, the total budget of the department, the proposed total budget of the department for 2024 would be about 822.2 billion pesos. And this is made up of personal services of 11.9 billion pesos, maintenance and other operating expenses of 25.49 billion pesos, and for capital outlays of 783.657 billion pesos. Comparatively, Your Honor, personal services in 2023 the allocation for personal services was 11.6.8 billion pesos. And for maintenance and operating expenses, the allocation for in 2023 is 6.26 billion pesos. Comparatively to, again, to the proposed national expenditure program in 2023, which is about 25.49 billion pesos. In capital outlays, this year, for 2023 budget is about 874 billion pesos. And the proposed capital outlay for the 2024 infrastructure program of the department is 783.657 billion pesos. In terms of the breakdown of the maintenance and operating expenses, Your Honor, the proposed allocation for maintenance and other operating expenses for 2024 would be, again, 25.549 billion pesos, which is actually the same amount as we have presented in the National Expenditure Program for 2023. But I would like just to point out that for 2023, the amount that had been allocated to the department is only about 6.86 billion pesos. Now we are again proposing a total of 25.549 billion pesos for 2024. For the total budget breakdown, here we are just presenting again that the total allocation that we have, the total allocation for pre-feasibility studies, preliminary and detailed engineering. This is very much needed in the preparation of our projects. Would be in 2024. For 2024, we are allocating about 15.912 billion pesos. And for the payments of right-of-way, for 2024, we have allocated 35.126 billion pesos. And for foreign assisted projects of about 70.701 billion pesos. I'd just like to point out again, Your Honors, that for the preliminary engineering allocation for this year, our national expenditure NEP proposal at the time was about 15.967 billion pesos. But what was only allocated is 1.172 billion pesos for 2023. In the same manner that the right-of-way allocation under our proposed NEP in 2023, only 1.6 billion was allocated. And again, for foreign assisted projects in 2023, our proposal at the time was about 70 billion pesos, but what was allocated finally was only 7.9 billion pesos, Your Honors. So in the summary of the proposed 2024 budget would be that the the total allocation for general administration support would now be 17.409 billion pesos. For personal services, 10.9 billion pesos. For maintenance and operating expenses, 1.36 billion. And for capital outlays of about 5.148 billion pesos. And support for operations is about total of about 79.227 billion pesos. It includes personal services of 979 million pesos. For maintenance and operating expenses, 24.214 billion pesos. And for capital outlays of 54.039 billion pesos. For operations, Your Honors, will be about 724.47 billion pesos, made up of capital outlays of the same amount. Now, so the total fiscal year 2024 based on National Expenditure Program would be about 821.107 billion pesos, Your Honor. So, comparatively, based on the 2023 NEP, proposed NEP at that time, is an increase of about 717 billion pesos. That was the proposed NEP at that time. And this time, it's for 2024 would be an increase of about 14.747 billion pesos, Your Honor. Now, in terms of organizational outcome, or where we are actually putting the capital outlays for the proposed 2024 budget of 724.47 billion pesos. This would be allocated to ensure safe and reliable national roads, which we call 001, of about 270 billion pesos. This will be an increase of about 11% from 2023. For flood control projects, which we call flood control projects, of about 194 billion pesos. This will also be an increase of about 6%. Convergence and special support program, a total of 166 billion pesos. This will be a decrease of 57% from the 2023 budget. And for national buildings and public-private partnership, we have allocated 23.531 billion pesos against 21.573 billion pesos, an increase of 9% from 2023, Your Honor. And for our foreign assisted projects, we have allocated 70.77 billion pesos as against the what has been allocated under the General Appropriations Act of 7.9 billion pesos. This is an increase of about 790%, Your Honor. So all in all, actually, Your Honor, is actually that the total capital outlays for operations in the department is with a total of 724 billion pesos against 870 billion pesos under the General Appropriations Act for 2023, or a decrease of about 16.8%, Your Honor. Now let me go to the operations and operations budget by organizational outcome, Your Honor. So for national roads, for national roads, we have allocated in graphical form. We have actually, as I said, about 260 for 2024. We have allocated 270.225 billion pesos against the 269 billion pesos under the GAA. But then again, comparatively with the NEP in 2024, which is only about 215.9 billion pesos. For flood control, we have allocated 194 billion pesos as against the 182 billion pesos in the General Appropriations Act for 2023 and 146 billion pesos comparatively with the NEP in 2023, Your Honor. In the convergence and special programs for 2024, we are proposing 166 billion pesos, comparatively with 154.506 billion pesos in the NEP of 2023, but in terms of comparatively with the General Appropriations Act approved, is about 388.287 billion pesos. National Building Program, 23.3 billion pesos as against 31 billion in the NEP of 2023 and GAA of approved by 21.57 billion pesos. And this for foreign assisted projects, we are again proposing a 70.7 billion pesos, the same amount that we have proposed in the NEP of 2023, and as against 7.9 billion pesos that was approved in the General Appropriations Act. I will probably jump to, these are only the flagship projects. I'd like to go into the flagship projects, if you may, Your Honor. That the flagship projects, these projects have undergone multi-level government approval and monitored by oversight agencies by the Committee on Flagship Projects. But I just like to point out that in 2021, for the year 2021, the National Expenditure Program allocation at that time was 80.504 billion. But again, from the approved General Appropriations Act was only about 20.75 billion pesos. At that time, there were 18 ongoing infrastructure flagship projects. In 2022, the National Expenditure Program proposal at that time was 52.7 billion, but what was approved in the JAA was only 7.4 billion pesos, with 16 ongoing flagship projects. In 2023, again, the proposal at the time was 70 billion pesos, 70.7 billion pesos. That was approved as only about 7.9 billion pesos, with 14 ongoing flagship projects and 3 in the pipeline to be started in 2023. Now let me go to the last, probably I think the last slide, Your Honor. Here I would just like to show actually the distribution of the DPWH capital outlays program by region comparatively from 2023 GAA to the proposed 2024 National Expenditure Program of the department. Let me start with the National Capital Region. The proposed the proposed capital outlay in the National Capital Region is 55.64 billion pesos, as against the 2023 GAA allocation of 57.29 billion pesos, Your Honor. In Southern Luzon, Region 4A for 2024, proposed 2024 is 59.18 billion pesos as against the GAA of 2023 of 87.8 billion. Region 4B, 41.4 billion pesos in for 2024, and it's against 49.6 in the GAA of 2023. And in the same manner, for Region 5, 53.6 billion pesos 2024 as against 74.89 billion pesos GAA 2023. All in all, for Southern Luzon, Your Honor, a total capital outlay allocation of 154.24 billion pesos under the National Expenditure Program proposal for 2024 as against 212.17 billion pesos approved in the GAA. This is 22%, 22.75% of the total capital outlays, Your Honor. In the Visayas, Region 6, 33.59 billion pesos. That's against 44 billion pesos in the GAA of 2023. And Region 7, 43.68 billion. That's against 58.47 billion in under the GAA of 2023. And Region 8, 51.88 billion pesos. That's against 51.52 billion pesos in the GAA of 2023. And all in all, a total for the Visayas, 129.15 billion pesos as against 154.34 billion in the GAA for 2023. And for 2024, the Visayas regions 6, 7, and 8, a total allocation of 19.05% of the total capital outlays, Your Honor. For Northern Luzon, for the Cordillera Autonomous Region, 38.83 billion pesos against 27.53 billion pesos under the GAA of 2023, 51.08 billion pesos for Region 1, as against 35.39 billion pesos under the GA of 2023, and for Region 2, 42.7 billion pesos as against 34.65 billion in the GAA, and for Region 3, 98.47 billion pesos as against 72.17 billion pesos. All in all, the total allocation for Northern Luzon is about 231.09 billion pesos under the proposed 2024 budget, as against 169.75 billion pesos under the GAA of 2023. In Mindanao, the total allocation for Region 13 is 33.5 billion pesos against 27.57 billion pesos in GAA, 61.86 billion pesos as against 45.8 billion pesos in the GAA. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong way, Your Honor. 227 billion pesos, 27.57 billion pesos in the proposed 2024 budget as against 33 in the GAA for Region 13. Region 10, 45.8 billion pesos against the 61.86 billion in the GAA 2023. In Region 9, 26.6 billion pesos against 32 billion pesos in the GAA 2023, and 42 billion pesos for Region 11 as against 44 billion pesos in GAA of 2023, and 26.45 billion pesos as against 27 billion pesos in 2023. So all in all, Your Honor, the National Expenditure Program for Capital Outlays for Mindanao region is 169.26 billion, representing 24.96%, as against 198.99% in the GAA of 23.31%. I'd just like to make a correction in Northern Luzon, Your Honor, that the proposed total allocation for capital outlays for Northern Luzon is 169.75 billion pesos under the proposed National Expenditure Program for 2024 as against 231.09 billion pesos allocation under the National Expenditure Program, representing 25.03% of the national capital of the capital outlays program for 2024, Your Honor. I think that's just about the presentation for now, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Secretary Manuel Bonoan. Now we proceed to the discussions. May I just remind our distinguished colleagues that each member is given 5 minutes for questioning or interpolation, excluding the response of the resource persons. And when you hear the bell sound, it means you only have 30 seconds to wind up with your questions. And as part of a long-standing and respected tradition of the House of Representatives to accord preferential treatment to the minority members of the House and followed by the majority members in an alternating manner, the Chair recognizes from the Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan.
Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po sa DPWH community, lalo na sa aking kaibigan, Secretary Manning Bunuan. Mr. Chairman, ang napakahalagang arterial road po ng ating bansa na nagkukonekta sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao ay ang Maharlika Highway na nag-span ng 3,380 kilometers. Magkano ba ang nailagay nating pondo para sa pag-aayos po nito?
For 2024, Your Honor, I think the total allocation, as we have consolidated from all the projects along the Daang Maharlika, would be almost about 30 billion, Your Honor.
Sa 30 billion, mayroon tayong road portion na Allen to San Juanico Bridge portion na maabot ng 236.4 kilometers. Magkano ba sa total ang nailalagay po natin dito? Sa 236 kilometers, ito po ay 7% sa total length ng Maharlika Highway.
Your Honor, I'd like to get the total figure, but let me just emphasize, Your Honor, that for Daang Maharlika for 2024, we plan to undertake and rehabilitate yung mga deteriorated sections for now, particularly in the Samar Leyte section and of course in the Mindanao section and other parts of Maharlika Highway in Luzon, no? Because we are planning actually we are actually preparing for a total rehabilitation of the Maharlika through an official development assistance with the Asian Development Bank in the future, Your Honor. For Region 8, Your Honor, for Region 8, the consolidated allocation for Daang Maharlika, including those that had been incorporated in the programs of the various legislative districts, is about 7.248 billion. 41.2 billion pesos. Let me just correct my initial statement, Your Honor, that now I've been given the total allocation based on the 2024 National Expenditure Program for Daang Maharlika will be about 41.898 billion pesos, Your Honor.
Yung 7.2 billion mo ay Samar and Leyte. Yung para sa Samar portion lang, kasi gusto kong makita kung magkano talaga ang para sa Samar portion. Dahil ito po yung pinakapangit sa lahat ng Daang Maharlika at nagkaroon na tayo ng 1 year dito na pag-aayos at napakahirap po ang nararamdaman ngayon ng ating mga commuters. Hindi lang sa Samar pero Mindanao, Luzon, na nagdadala ng maraming goods, items at saka mga pasahero, lalo na yung mga ordinaryong commuters na dumadaan po dito. Kaya gusto kong malaman ngayon, habang wala pa yung ating foreign funding.
Samar. Yes, Your Honor, I think, to my recollection, I think, I'm just getting the exact figure, Your Honor, but I think for summer section, I think there has been an allocation of more than 2 billion pesos, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, we
But
want to be sure about it. We are talking here about the lives of our people in the Philippines. Kasi ito yung pinakabugbog na kalsada. At dito makikita yung performance natin kung magaling tayo magtrabaho. Dahil halos lahat gumagamit ng kalsada pong ito. At pag naayos po ito ay makakapagpababa ng presyo ng mga pagkain dito sa atin, sa Maynila. Dahil kadalasan, karamihan ng ating pagkain galing Mindanao po, 80% ng ating kinakain galing Mindanao at lahat dumadaan sa highway yan. Kaya doon po makikita yung galing ng ating DPWH kung magkano ang inalutagan natin pondo para dito.
I totally agree, Your Honor. I think that this is the reason why for 2024, ang kanhunay programa namin dito is actually to concentrate on the deteriorated sections of the Daang Maharlika for now, to immediately address the deteriorated sections of Daang Maharlika while we are actually trying to finalize our discussions with the Asian Development Bank for the total rehabilitation of Daang Maharlika po, including the entire Daang Maharlika po. I think we have a big program actually for Daang Maharlika. Now, Your Honor, yung for Daang Maharlika in Samar, I've now been given actually the figure. It's actually 2.2 billion pesos, Your Honor.
2.2 billion na. We will be expecting that. Pero kung maaari, Mr. Chairman, madagdagan po ito dahil yung last year, nag-alutaga tayo ng 1.2. At least, nag-increase ngayon. Pero yung 1.2 halos hindi maramdaman ng highway na yan. Mr. Chairman, nag-mention ang ating secretary na may darating na total rehabilitation ng Daang Maharlika. Kailan po ba ito mangyayari, yung total rehabilitation natin?
Your Honor, we have already, in principle, itong discussions namin with the Asian Development Bank, and we are now in the process of finalizing the arrangements and agreements. Hopefully, within the year, Your Honor, we should be able to come up with the we finalize our arrangements. That will include, of course, kailangan din ng feasibility study and detail engineering. Because ang total program natin for Maharlika, the President wants Didaang Maharlika as being the backbone of the National Highway na magiging seamless on travel. Seamless travel from north to south in Zamboanga. And this is the program that we intend to implement within the term of the President, Your Honor.
So, can we appropriate the funds, yung local component, next year or kailan ito mangyayari?
There will be part of the program for next year for the official development assistance, Your Honor. If we can, if the projects will be ready for implementation for next year, because we also have to undertake the detailed engineering design, Your Honor.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Chairman, yung Department Order number 1 ni Acting Secretary Roger Mercado, marami siyang in-identify na mga provincial roads na ginawa niyang national roads. At nung umupo po ang ating kaibigan, si Secretary Bunuan, ay dinifer po ito ang implementation. At isa po dito sa na-deferred na napaka-importanting daan ay ang Dampigan, Hinulaso, Dolores, Maslog Road. Napapunta ito sa tri-boundary ng Samar, sa gitna ng Samar, na kung saan mayroon pa tayong sinusolve na mga problema doon na sana makapagwakas ito sa mga kaguluhan doon. Pero because of the deferment of the DPWH, nawalan po ng maintenance itong kalsadang ito. Ngayon, kung mag-iikot kayo sa buong Pilipinas, ang pinakapangit na kalsada sa buong Pilipinas ay ang Carolina, Hinulaso, Maslog Road. Nagipag-usap na po ako sa ating sekretary at na-assure tayo ng QRF. Ngayon po ay buwan na ng September. May konting window na lang tayo bago dumating ang tag-ulan. Sana, ano na po ang nangyari dito sa pwedeng i-rehabilitate na pondo sa kalsada pong ito?
This national road yung let me start, Your Honor, that yung those proposed conversion for national roads that were actually implemented by, that were actually under the leadership of former Secretary Mercado. I made it a point po kasi we wanted to make sure that these local roads that were already included in the department orders for declaration of national roads. Ang policy lang po kami ng department when I came in is that these projects, pinavet ko lang po ng mga projects nito because we wanted that the right-of-way, the road right-of-way of these roads have already been acquired and there is no obligation of the department actually to pay. Because these are local roads in the first place that are being converted to national roads. In the policy of the department is that when you declare a local road to a national road, there should not be any obligation for the department to pay the right-of-way. And this is the only thing that we wanted to vet. And the other thing is actually po yung when you declare a local road to a national road, at least it is already in maintainable condition. And it is yung standard of the national road would have been satisfied. So these are only the things that I wanted to make sure that everything has been complied with, Your Honor. So at this point in time, I think these are being done, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, we understand that. But when you deferred it, Wala nang maintenance yan. Kailangan mag-usap. Sinong mag-maintain dito? Province, municipality, sino? Kung nakatiwangwang ito, anong mangyayari? And this is a very vital road. Sinasabi ko, this is going to the tribe boundary na gumagasto ang ating gobyerno para ma-solve yung insurgency ng Samar. Pero here comes, anong gagawin po natin dito? Pababayaan na lang natin yan? Nandoon yung mga sundalo natin, nandoon yung mga tao natin. Meanwhile, habang nagdo-document tayo, sino ang mag-maintain ng kalsadang ito?
Well, I think, Your Honor, I can understand the importance of the road, no? But if it is a continuing program that we have to continue to develop, then the department can actually sustain the development of that road, Your Honor. But again, until it is being declared as a national road, the maintenance of that road will still be with the local governments actually, until it is declared as a national road, Your Honor.
That's why nga, because of the department order, it was declared because of department order number 1. But when you assumed office, it was deferred.
The chair would like to remind the minority leader to please wrap up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, this is a very vital road because this passes through Maslog, Hipapad, and Las Navas. Las Navas in Northern Samar. Major arterial road po sana ito na makakalunas ng mga problema ng Samar. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, marami po pa akong tanong, pero magse-second round na lang ko para mapagbigyan ng ating mga ibang congressmen ng kanilang oras. Maraming salamat po, Secretary
Thank
Manny.
you, Your Honor.
Lahat ng ating DPWH community.
Thank you,
Maraming
Minority
salamat,
Leader.
Mr. Chairman.
Now, I would like to recognize our colleague from the independent minority, Representative Edsel Lagman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to the House, to the Secretary of the Department, Secretary Manny Bonoan, and the officialdom of DPWH. Mr. Chair, as usual, I am fully supportive of the proposed budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways. Like education and health, public infrastructure must be given an appropriate and enabling budget. However, Mr. Chair, I have some concerns. And these concerns are also the concerns of many of the members of the House. We hope that in the submission of projects for inclusion in the National Expenditure Program, this submission must be cleansed of, quote, alien projects, unquote, which have not been validated and scrutinized by the respective district engineering offices. Since invariably, Mr. Chair, there is a ceiling on the amount of infrastructure projects for a particular district. And this ceiling is based on accepted standards. But we should make sure that the ceiling is not breached by these alien projects, and priority projects should not be bumped by these projects in the submission in the National Expenditure Program. Can we get a comment from the Secretary?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the very reason why, Your Honor, in the preparation of the 2024 budget, we made sure that this is fully coordinated with members of Congress or legislatives, that the preparation of the 24 budget priorities would have to be in coordination, in full coordination with the members of Congress and the National Expenditure Program allocation for each of the members of Congress, Your Honor. And this has been emphasized to all our district and regional offices, actually, that whenever they're going to submit, actually, their proposed programs and projects under the regional budget proposals, we wanted this to be, make sure that these are fully coordinated with the members of Congress. And of course, we wanted it to be, these projects would be aligned as well to the core program of the Department of Public Works and Highways. And plus, of course, a leeway by which we can accommodate the local priorities of members of Congress, Your Honor.
We truly appreciate that policy, Mr. Chair. But somehow, there is still some alien projects which creep into the NEP without having been validated by the respective district engineering offices of DPWH. I hope that we can be very vigilant in safeguarding the submission to the NEP so that what should be there should be validated projects. Now, in the event that these alien projects are subsequently validated and are necessary and relevant, they should be included after this submission of the NEP to the Congress. We have no problem about that, but this should not bump up priority projects and it should not impair the ceiling. Can we get a commitment from the Secretary?
Absolutely, Your Honor. And this is the reason, I think, Your Honor, I think we still have the process. As we have mentioned to all the members of Congress, if you think that the priorities that you have in mind are not the ones that are being included in the submitted National Expenditure Program for the legislative districts, we have this process that we can go through an errata in the preparation of the final version of the budget, Your Honor.
In my case, you know, Mr. Secretary, I have dialogue with you. And we have disclosed what are these alien projects. But I am not talking only about my district. I am talking on behalf of the other members who may not have access to you because for one reason or another. But I understand that there is the period of realignment or what we call errata, where we could make the necessary corrections. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for those commitments. Now, may I also re-echo, Mr. Chair, the truism in the statement of Undersecretary Cathy Cabral, that in the distribution of authority, the regional director is principally tasked to supervise and monitor the implementation of infrastructure projects, and it is the district engineer who is charged principally with the implementation of these projects. I think in one meeting of district engineers, the distinguished Undersecretary Cathy made this statement. Could you expand on that?
Let me just expand, Your Honor, on my own, because I think this is an operational issue that we're talking about. And yes, I fully agree, Your Honor, that I think the regional office is the supervisory arm of the department in terms of the implementation of the projects at the district level. So they have to exercise actually the supervision responsibility in the implementation of the projects. But the principal responsibility of the projects would be in the district offices, Your Honor. However, there are certain projects that, of course, the regional offices are also authorized to implement in major activities, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chair, although we truly respect the discretion of regional directors, I think they should be cautioned not to submit excessively pegged projects in the amount of more than 150 million to 200 million just to assume the authority to implement these projects at the expense of the main implementers, the district engineering offices. Mr. Chair. I think I have delivered that message well enough and don't need to have any comment on it. Last point, Mr. Chair. There is a Department Order number 89, series of 2023, dated July 31, 2023, on the sole implementation of Daan Maharlika projects by the regional offices. My district is not concerned with this order because in my district there are no main roads with respect to the Daan Maharlika. We have only Maharlika junction roads. But I am speaking on behalf of many members who have approached me that if possible, the Secretary could review this Department Order number 89 with respect to far-flung areas where the district engineer may have the better access. Anyway, they have also the technical capability to perform or implement these projects. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, our colleague from the independent minority. Before I recognize our good friend, the only Teves in the house, I'd like to recognize the chairman of the Committee on Public Works, Honorable Romeo S. Momo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, this is not a question, Mr. Chairman. This is just a manifestation. The manifestation is in connection with the questions of Honorable Congressman Libanan, the minority floor leader. Mr. Chairman, the reason of the rapid deterioration of Maharlika and other, not only Maharlika, but all other roads and bridges in the country is because of the poor maintenance of our national highways. Mr. Chairman, as I review the budget comparison of routine maintenance of national roads and bridges from fiscal year 2010 to 2023, I found out, Mr. Chairman, that the basic component or the basic funding for the maintenance of our national roads and bridges is based on the basic cost per AMK. Am I right, Mr. Chairman?
Correct, Your Honor.
And for the last 5 years, I think from 2018 up to 2023, unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, there was a rapid reduction or a big reduction of the proposed allocation based on the basic cost per AMK. In fact, Mr. Chairman, on 2022, the proposed budget for the maintenance of our national roads and bridges is 16.4 billion, but the actual release is only about 2.4 billion for 2022. The highest AMK basic cost per AMK actually was on the year 2018, where the basic cost per AMK is 162,989 per AMK, Mr. Chairman. Compared to 2022, the basic cost per AMK is only about 33,718 pesos, Mr. Chairman. How can you expect a high level of maintenance if this will continue to exist on the coming years, Mr. Chairman? And if this will not be restored to its requested amount, then I would assume that there will be a rapid deterioration of our national highways, not only of Maharlika, but all other highways in the country. So can we be assured by the Honorable Secretary, Mr. Chairman, that these proposals for the basic maintenance allocation of our national roads and bridges be maintained and it should not be touched, so that we can expect a higher level of maintenance in the near future or next year and on the coming years, Mr. Chairman?
Well, thank you very much for that manifestation, Your Honor. I fully agree with your observation that indeed, over the years, there has been a continuous and diminishing reduction in the maintenance allocation for national roads, not only for national roads, but for other facilities, infrastructure facilities, Your Honor. And yes, you're correct that the lack of maintenance allocations, maintenance funds, over time leads to deteriorating infrastructure. And again, the consequence is there will be significant increase in the rehabilitation cost of all the projects, of all this, the situation of the roads that we are talking about. And this is one area where we would implore the support of Congress, actually, that our allocation, our proposed allocation for maintenance, for road maintenance, and other facilities under the proposed 2024 budget would be, secured and sustained, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, the reduction of the proposed allocation for the maintenance of national roads and bridges will lead to the following. Number one, in your district, this is for the information of all honorable members of Congress. This will lead to the following. Number one, reduction of labor on roadside maintenance. Bababa, wala na tayong mga empleyado sa national highways dahil wala nang maibayad ang ating mga district offices ng mga tauhan nila. Number two, reduction of the very vital fuel needs of the equipment. In fact, Mr. Chairman, if honorable members of Congress, if you go back to your district, maraming equipment ng DPWH hindi na tumatakbo dahil walang maibili ng diesel fuel. Number three, the resealing and other activities of the district on the cracks and joint sealing, natigil na nila yon. And what will happen? If this will not continue, severe ang damage at very costly ang restoration and rehabilitation. That is all, Mr. Chairman. And I hope the Secretary of Public Works and Highways will again see to it that this will not be reduced. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Momo. Now, the Chair recognizes from the minority, Representative Herrera.
Thank you very much. Nandito po ako, Sec. Nandito po. Ayan, magandang umaga po. Good morning to the family, DPWH family. Well, I'll go straight to the point. nakita ko sa website ng DPWH, kindly flash, na 100% of our national roads are actually paved already. But 54.7% of local roads are still unpaved, wherein it's 95,127 kilometers pa ang badly in need of paving. Now, asan na yung... Now, tatanong ko lang, when you allocated budget per region, did you take this into consideration?
Your Honor, actually, as I pointed out, the principal responsibility of the department is for the national road system.
Yes.
Yes. And the local roads is under the responsibility of the local government units at this point in time, Your Honor. So, what we can provide support is actually through the convergence programs and, of course, yung allocations under the legislative districts for the local projects, Your Honor. But we cannot, at this point in time, the national government put in our program, in our core program, the paving of local roads, Your Honor, because these are actually under Executive Order 138. These are already devolved to the local government units, Your Honor.
That's right, Mr. Chair. But we still put under the CSSP, correct? Under the CSSP, nagkaroon pa rin po tayo ng projects for local. Isn't that the whole point of the CPAG and the BIP? Can
Correct.
you...
That's correct,
Next
Your
slide.
Honor. Yes.
So we put budget for local infrastructures. Next slide, yung table 8. Makikita natin yung CPAG and BIP. Now my question is, ano pong bang difference ng basic infrastructure dyan sa sustainable? Kasi the items or the sub-programs are all the same. Hindi ba magkakaroon ng redundancy yan? How did we now allocate per region kung ano ang lalagyan natin ng CPAG, anong lalagyan ng BIP, and these are local infrastructures?
Your Honor, I think there are two different modalities. No? Kasi yung CPAG, which is actually ano ba yung panon? Is actually basically initiated by DPWH, and yung BIP is actually for the local priorities of members of Congress, Your Honor.
So yun, Mr. Chairman, how did you decide what to put in what region for the CPAG? Because nakikita ko there are regions na malaki, there are regions na maliit. That's why I'm asking if you looked at your own data of areas that needed to be done, like the paving of local roads, kasi 100,000 kilometers, more than 100,000 kilometers pa yung kailangan.
Your Honor, I think the process is that we, first of all, in the allocation of the budget of the department, first of all, we have to satisfy the core program of the department, right? The core program of the department. And, of course, there is an allocable amount that is allocated per legislative district. Now, for the preparation of the 2024 budget, we said because we wanted to put priorities on some of the core programs of the department, we said as a matter of allocations, ang kuwan ho namin dito, as we have agreed with the threshold that 70% of the total allocation for the legislative district, 70% should be allocated for the core program of the department, that is for 001 and 002. And then the 30% is actually for the local infrastructure, which includes the convergence and CPAG and everything. So these priorities are also being discussed, the priorities discussed with members of Congress, Your Honor.
Yes, that interests me. Yung sa National Road po tayo, I saw also in your website na meron kayong classification ng poor, bad, fair, kung ano pa yung roads natin. And 36% are just considered good. All the rest needs to be rehabilitated, needs to be maintained. Kaya tinatanong ko po, sinunod niyo po ba itong data niyo when you distributed projects for regional allocations, especially for 001 and 002?
Your Honor, I think, yes, we have this information and data actually as we continue to on a yearly basis, update this data. And the allocation for the priorities for the allocation for what you need in the for 001, by, of course, 001 is actually for preventive maintenance, improvement, and construction and network development for national roads. Hindi ho for maintenance po ito. Hindi ho for maintenance ito. These are all for capital programs under the national roads. So these are actually being prioritized at the district and the regional levels po ito. According to the needs and according to, the condition of the roads in that particular district.
The reason why I brought it up, because nakita ko po sa reconstruction and upgrading, for example, I saw Region 5 has the highest in terms of bad and fair or bad and poor na mga kailangan i-maintain or kailangan i-upgrade. Pero sila rin yung mababang budget compared to other regions. That's why tinatanong ko po, do you actually look at this in deciding where to put the upgrading? Because I just gave you an example wherein mas malaki yung kailangan niya, pero mas maliit yung nabigay sa kanya compared to other regions na mas less ang kailangan, pero mas malaki ang pondo.
Unang-una, Your Honor, I think we have to operate and allocate it under the allocated legislative allocation. No? We have to, under that legislative allocation, hanggang doon yung priorities. And of course, as I said, the allocation for 001 for the national roads, we leave it up to the priorities actually by the regional and district offices. They would be in the better position for them actually to determine where they can allocate these projects.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I agree totally. That's why ang pinapakiusap ko, sana po sundan nyo yung sariling data ng DPWH as to the needs. At sana ma-inform din yung members of Congress so that we can really prioritize yung mga kalye na kailangan gawin.
po.
Like for example, bypass roads. 26.3 billion or 45% of the whole budget just went to 3 regions. Pero hindi siya consistent doon sa data na pinapakita ng DPWH na pangangailangan. So I just want you to take a second look at that. Like for example, alam niyo naman yung nilalambing kong bypass road na nasimulan po ito but ngayon wala siyang budget. Magiging white elephant po siya. I hope that the good secretary can take a look again at Doña Remedios Trinidad, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes.
Mr. Chair, di pa ako tapos. May I get a commitment, Secretary, yung nilalambing ko naman na bypass road natin. It's really needed. Sana po matapos na po natin ito.
Noted, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, paano po yung mga redundant projects? Nakita po ng DBM withheld 157 projects, 44.4 billion, kasi same title, same description, but different amounts. Kaya hindi po nirelease. And nakikita ko po, may mga ganitong pangyayari pa rin po sa NEP ngayon. Ano pong balak nating, ano pong nangyari dito sa 4.4 billion na double entry?
This for the 2023 budget?
Yes.
Referring a budget. We have already made representations actually to the Department of Budget and Management, Your Honor, but the policy is, since these are overlapping in the allocation, I think the policy of the Department of Budget and Management is that only one of these will have to be released.
Precisely.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, like you said, kasi you vet before you put in the NEP, but how come nagkaka-double entries? This is 4.4, 157 projects.
Unfortunately, all this double entry or multiple entry came about after the General Appropriations Act, Your Honor. But for 2024, yung National Expenditure Program, again, we have noted actually that there are some There are also some projects that have double allocation. So we are correcting it at this point in time, Your Honor. We are now correcting them, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Baka pag napakita ko po sa inyo yung double, mailagay nyo na po sa DRT para matapos na po yung bypass roads, Mr. Chair. Kasi sayang naman po, double entry, pwedeng ilagay. Another one, like you said, nabavet. Meron po ako nakita, page 1164, construction of storm surge along Poblacion leading to seaport. Wala po sang lokasyon. This is 144 million. Bakit po tayo nagkakaroon ng ganito sa NEP?
Is this duplication, Your Honor? I'm sorry, but...
No, it's not
this is an
duplication. There's no
allocation.
location. So I don't know why meron tayong ganitong item sa NEP natin. Because you said nagkakaroon ng mistake after GAA. But this is NEP 2024. Page 1164, construction of storm surge along Poblacion leading to a seaport.
This could have been a local priority, Your Honor, under... We will look at it and
Yes.
probably correct it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ano ba tanong ko? Yes, Mr. Chair, yun pa yung sa foreign assisted projects. Actually, nalulungkot po ako. I feel for you nung pinakita niyo po ito. Because 70 billion po ang in-apply nyo, ang pinapose nyo, we only approved 7.1. Ano pong naapektuhan, Mr. Secretary? Through you, Mr. Chair.
Definitely, Your Honor, it nag-slow down yung implementation of these projects, and the consequences, actually, if you delay actually the implementation of the projects, of course, there are many consequences to it. Lalong tumatagal, lalong the cost of materials are increasing, and of course, it will redound actually to a higher cost of the project, Your Honor. So these are the things that we wanted to avoid in the 2024 budget, Your Honor.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Baka pwedeng sabihin niyo sa amin, Mr. Secretary, yung naapektuhan. Kasi we need to understand in Congress the consequences of what we have done. Like for example, foreign assisted, you're now requesting 70 billion again. Baka mamaya, tapyasin na naman namin, gawin ulit namin 7 billion. Ganon din po doon sa pre-feasibility study, ganon din po sa payment of right-of-way. You have to make us understand, Mr. Please submit to the committee para makita po namin ito. The consequence na ginawa po
Your
namin.
Honor. Yes, absolutely.
And last na lang, Mr. Chair, yun pong budget sa flood control, napakalaki, 213 billion. It's even more than the OTR, the SWD, ganun siya kahalaga. My question is, hindi po ba as a flood control mechanism, pwede bang gawa tayo ng catchment basins? Mas makakatulong pa po ito sa farmers? Kasi it's one way also of mitigating flood. So if we convert the 200 billion, kahit portion lang doon to catchment basins, mababawasan ng flood, magkakaroon ng tubig ang farmers, and there will be more potable water also. Is this something that can be considered? Para matulungan natin ang NIA, ang DA?
Well noted, Your Honor. I think this is one of the areas that we are looking at actually in the implementation of the flood control projects, particularly in the 18 major river basins, Your Honor. But we have to bear in mind also that there are more than 4,000 rivers all over the country, and there are local priorities also that we'll have to attend to some of these projects, Your Honor, at the local level. But for major river basins, Your Honor, we can assure you that we are actually looking into permanent, sustainable flood control programs in the major river basins, Your Honor.
I look forward to that, Mr. Secretary. I hope we can sit down and discuss on this one. Kasi ito po makakatulong po sa ating mamamayang Pilipino. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. I'll just list for round 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the chair would like to recognize my good friend, the only Teves left in the House, Deputy Majority Leader Bong Teves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The good one and the only one. Tebe Sweet Hair. Mr. Chairman, fellow congressmen, officials of the Department of Public Works and Highways, Secretary Manuel Bunuan, good morning. Mr. Chairman, may I ask the Department of Public Works and Highways kung alam ba nila ang local government code at the function of the chief executive.
Yes, Your Honor, we are aware of the local government code.
Okay, babasahin ko po. The chief executive of the local government unit shall exercise general supervision over all programs, projects, services, and activities within its territorial jurisdiction. It's further stated that national agencies and offices with project implementation functions shall coordinate with one another and with the local government units concerned. They shall ensure participation of the local government units both in the planning and implementation of the said national projects. In relation to this, kapag nag-a-identify ba kayo ng flood control projects o road opening projects, kahino po kayo nakikipag-coordinate at saan kayo kumukuha ng listing nito?
Yes, Your Honor, we are very aware of these provisions on the local government code. Actually, this is the reason why I think we have emphasizing that the priority projects, priority programs of the department would have undergone actually the scrutiny at the endorsement of the Regional Development Council, in which the local government units are supposed to be consulted and coordinated with, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, ako po ay isang party list representative. Nationwide po ang aking pag-iikot sa aking mga constituents. May mga governors at mayor po ako nakakausap sa kanilang mga lugar. At ang kanilang mga hinaing, mayroon pong mga identified flood control projects at road opening ng DPWH na hindi naman angkop sa kanilang mga LGUs. Minsan, unimplementable pa. Ibig sabihin, mismo kayo ay hindi nakikipag-coordinate sa ating mga local government units. Dahil po sa walang koordinasyon, Mr. Chairman, nakita po mismo ng Commission on Audit na may 2,395 DPWH locally funded projects which an aggregate of cost of 96.2 billion were delayed, were not efficiently implemented of the said locally funded projects. 1,798 projects worth of 60.1 billion were unfinished within a specific contract time. 413 projects worth of 27.5 billion were suspended. 90 projects worth 5.1 billion were terminated. And 94 projects worth of 3.5 billion were not started at all. Dagdag pa po rito sa 2023 General Appropriation Act, DBM flagged the release of funds amounting to 4.4 billion para sa 157 DPWH projects dahil na-double po at na-overlap ang mga projects na ito. Galing na po ito sa Commission on Audit. Every year, Mr. Chairman, mayroon pong annual investment plan ang ating mga LGUs. Sa annual investment plan na ito ay dinidiscuss at pinag-aaralan ng LGUs ang mga priority infrastructure project ng angkop sa kanilang bayan at probinsya. Pero bakit po ganito ang naging observation ng Commission on Audit?
Well, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, may I have a little clarification on this? Well, these are observations of the Commission on Audits, and
Yes.
we have explained to the Commission on Audits, actually, Your Honor, in the exit conference, the reasons why there has been some delays in the implementation of, especially on local projects, Your Honor. There are several things. initially in the preparation of these projects, many of the projects this is for 2022, I think this is for 2022. There again, in 2022, I think as I've mentioned, the allocation for project preparation activities was significantly reduced. And at that time, I think there were many local projects that were added on into the program of the department after the bicameral conference committee and under the General Appropriations Act was finally approved. So it took the department a little time actually to make the vetting of these preparations and field validations until such time. And many of the projects that were included, there had been some problems in the acquisition of right-of-way because local projects, Your Honor, especially on road projects, local projects, it has to be, the right-of-way has to be provided by the local governments, Your Honor. So all these things, again, included into the, delays in the implementation, Your Honor, of course, I understand that even the local governments normally has to issue the permits of the implementation of projects, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the DPWH kung magkano pa po ang unused appropriation ninyo noong year 2022?
Your Honor.
Yes po.
As of July, nasa 97.3% na ano natin.
For 2022, for the program for 2022, Your Honor, because we have a two-year implementation program under the provision of the General Appropriations Act. It has 2 years implementation period.
Magkano pa yung unused program ng year 2022?
For 2022,
Na hindi pa nadi-disburse.
ang pan na lang po namin dito is almost the entire allocation, budgetary allocation for 2023 is already 97.3% obligated, Your Honor.
How much ang natitirang money? 41.6 billion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, 41.6 billion ang hindi po na unused budget for the year 2022, Mr. Chairman. Pero tayo pong mga congressman, minsan humingi tayo ng budget proposal sa kanila dahil ito po ay nagagaling ang mga listing sa ating mga constituent pero hanggang ngayon minsan ay hindi po tayo napagbibigyan at ang mas lungkot po doon, hindi man lang tayo sinasabihan ng yes or no by on record.
Let me clarify that a little bit, Your Honor. For 2022, the unobligated balance as of July 31, Your Honor, the unobligated balance as of July is 18.1 billion pesos na lang po yung hindi unobligated. No? But we have until the end of the year actually to obligate and disperse the 18.1 billion.
Year 2022 po yun, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Your Honor. So I guess we have some time. That was July, and I'm sure that many of these have also been obligated already at this point in time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, How much is the procurement capacity of the District Engineering Office of the DPWH na pwede magpabidding?
Your Honor, when I assumed the office in the department last year, I have increased the authorities of the district engineering offices with the intent that we want to expedite implementation of the projects because to increase the absorptive capacity of the department. So I have increased actually the level of authority of the district engineering offices from 50 million to 150 million pesos, Your Honor. And for the regional offices, of course, from 150 to 300 million pesos, Your Honor. From 300 to 400 million, I'm corrected, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. May I ask, Mr. Chairman, may I ask if nandito po yung Region 5, Regional Director nyo?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, tinanong ko po ito because based on this representation, gathered information, there are complaints from the Catanduanes Constructors Association that projects as low as 3 million were transferred to the Regional Office of 5 for bidding and implementation, even though the said project were originally itemized in the District Engineering Office for procurement and implementation under the 2023 General Appropriation Act. Kahit yung mga empleyado ng inyong distrito, doon po sa Catanduanes, wala na pong ginagawa, nagre-reklamo na po sila. According to the regional director, it was transferred in order to fast-track the bidding process. However, according to this representation, source ay 25% pa lamang na nabidding for this reason. May this representation request the God Secretary to submit this representation office the following document: status of project implemented by the DPWH Regional Office 5 in the province of Catanduanes for the year 2023. Status of project implemented by the Catanduanes District Engineering Office for 2023. Request the DPWH Regional Office 5 for the performance rating of the or disbursement rate of all district engineering offices in Region 5 from year 2019 up to present. Request the DPWH Central Office of the performance rating for the disbursement rate of all DPWH regional offices from 2019 up to the present para ma-check natin kung ano ba ang performance ng Region 5. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Well noted, Your Honor. We will.
Yes, we request the department to provide the requested documents. Now we go back to the minority. We now recognize Representative Raul Manuel from the minority.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, may tanong ako tungkol sa notorious na Ungka flyover sa Iloilo. Bagamat po ito ay naging topic na rin sa Committee on Public Works dito sa Kamara, pero dahil ang pinag-uusapan natin ay 2024 national budget, baka po kasi pondohan na ang repair para dito. Mr. Chair, para po maunawaan ng mga fellow representatives natin na hindi pa nababalitaan yung sa flyover, May 2022 to April 2023, 3 sa 16 na mga piers ang lumulubog. Kaya po for 2 years, hindi po magamit-gamit ang flyover. Nitong September 5, Mr. Chair, nag-second anniversary na ang flyover. Mr. Chair, isa sa mga pier ang naging displacement po, 16 inches. Parang ganito yung 16 inches. May isang pier din po, 19 inches. Parang ganito po yon. Tapos pinakamalala, Mr. Chair, 23 inches. Ayan, parang ganun po. Kaya talaga sobrang galit na galit na ang mga mamamayan ng Iloilo dahil dyan. Mr. Chair, hindi naabot ang solid soil layers no, ng mga pier. Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask, may soil test ba na ginawa bago i-construct yung flyover?
Yes, well, according to the records, Your Honor, there were tests actually that were conducted prior to the implementation of the project, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, sino po ang nag-conduct ng soil test?
The soil test geotechnical investigations were, as I recall, Your Honor, this was undertaken by a private company.
Mr. Chair, ano po yung resulta ng soil test?
In soil test, Your Honor, or
Yeah, kasi kung nag-soil test po, Mr. Chair, dapat na laman na hindi sapat yung kung ano yung nasa design no, para maabot talaga yung matigas na layer ng lupa para hindi lumubog yung mga pier ng flyover.
well, if I recall, Your Honor, you're talking of geotechnical investigation, Your Honor. Geotechnical investigation to determine the layers underneath. Actually, Your Honor, if I recall, I think the result of the initial geotechnical investigations that was used in the design was, I think, a little more than 24 meters, Your Honor.
How many meters po, Mr. Chair?
I think, more or less, Your Honor, I don't have the exact figures, but my recollection is that I think it's about 24 meters, Your Honor.
84 meters. Mr. Chair, sino po ang gumawa ng design ng flyover?
The design of the flyover was also done by a local consulting firm that was engaged by the department at that time, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, sino ang nag-approve ng design?
The approval of the design, of course, will be the Department of Public Works and Highways, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, based sa naging report ng third-party consultant, yung Abinales Associates, yung nag-check na nung itong flyover na hindi magamit-gamit, 30 meters deep lang ang mga pier. So bakit po ganun lang yung mga pier, pero yung 50 meters na lupa actually from surface level, ay malambot pa po yun. 50 meters, malambot, pero yung pier, 30 meters lang. Bakit po nakalusot ang ganitong design, Mr. Chair?
Well, Your Honor, to put it into its perspective, I think this is one of the reasons why we have engaged Abinales actually to validate actually the geotechnical investigations, no. And of course, Your Honor, this is the reason why we have to undertake some rectification on this project, Your Honor.
Pero Mr. Chair, in the first place, kung sa design pa lang pala, meron ng problema, bakit po smoothly na nahayaan ito? Mr. Chair, wala bang naging monitoring ang ahensya habang kinoconstruct yung project? And even dun pa lang mismo sa approve ng design, Mr. Chair?
Your Honor, these are the things that we are looking at this point in time. Unfortunately, nadatnan na rin ko lang ito, Your Honor. So, these are the things that we are looking into, actually, how the project was designed, how it was approved, and how it was implemented at this point in time. My concern, actually, Your Honor, at this point in time, while we are doing all these investigations on how this happened, actually is that I would like to make the facility usable at the earliest possible time. And this is what we are looking at, what rectification could be done immediately at this point in time, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, kasi hindi pwedeng mag-move on lang tayo pero hindi natin mapapanagot yung mga nasa likod talaga ng palpak na proyekto. Mr. Chair, may budget ba for repair sa 2024 National Expenditure Program?
Your Honor, yes, we have included partly an allocation for the rectification of the flyover so that it can be used as soon as at the earliest possible time, Your Honor.
Magkano ang budget for repair, Mr. Chair, na nasa 2024 budget?
Initially, Your Honor, we have allocated, I think, a little, more or less, Your Honor, about 200 million.
Mr. Chair, napakalaking gastos po nun for repair, lalo na't ang original cost ng flyover 680 million. Very costly po yung repair. Kaya kung i-shoulder na naman ito ng ating mga kababayan, sobrang inostisya na po ito habang hindi natin nakikita yung sincerity na mapanagot talaga yung mga nasa likod ng proyekto, Mr. Chair. And there's no other agency but DPWH para humarap, magpaliwanag sa mamamayan ng Iloilo regarding this, Mr. Chair. Now, for me to proceed to my next topic on climate change expenditure, Mr. Chair, ito naman yung okay na tagging. Climate change expenditure tagging. Pero merong component ito, flood management program under DPWH, 216 billion for 2024. Pero ang dami nating budget for flood control. Actually, Mr. Chair, parang hindi natin nakikita na nare-resolve talaga yung pagbaha sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa. Binibida natin ito na climate change expenditure, pero para bang nabobloat lang natin yung nire-report natin sa international community na gastos for this. Mr. Chair, yung tanong ko po, ano ang ating ginagawa sa ahensya para seryosong ma-cut back yung greenhouse emissions if we claim that we are at the forefront of having actions against the effects of climate change?
Your Honor, this is one area where the President himself has given specific instructions for the department to look into permanent solutions in addressing flooding problems in many areas of the country because of the climate change phenomenon. And the department is approaching in two levels, Mr. Chairman. We are looking at for immediate action that needs to be to alleviate actually the flooding problems in many areas. At the same time, we are looking at the long-term solution of the flooding problems in many areas. And the President himself have instructions to look into the possibilities of undertaking the construction of water impounding facilities, yung sa impounding areas in river basins and reservoirs for water management processes, not only for flood control, but also for water supply and irrigation and purposes. And all these things are actually now being laid out now for the implementation of projects in the department. Your Honor, there are 18 major river basins in the country, and there are many projects now that are undergoing these projects for flood control mitigation. But again, the President wants to emphasize that it's not only for flood control that we're looking at, but we have to coordinate with the other agencies so that it will be the water management resources is more important, is the priority program now, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chair, while binanggit na may iba pang mga climate change-related projects na hindi flood control, pero based po kasi sa study ng University of Oxford at ibang organizations, yung infrastructure po, responsible siya for 79% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Kaya po, Mr. Chair, sa international level, ganito na po yung observation. Kaya dapat mas ma-rationalize natin yung ating climate change expenditure, pati sa infra. For me to wind up, Mr. Chair, tingin natin sobrang laki ng ginagastos natin sa infrastructure, itong mga big ticket infra projects, dependent din naman sa mga imported na mga materyales, equipment, tsaka mga contractors. Kaya yung stimulus effect nun sa atin, Mr. Chair, ay hindi din naman ganun talaga kalaki. Yung mga sources of imports natin for all these projects to push through ay yung mga sources of imports yun naman talaga yung magiging big winners dito. Kaya Mr. Chair, yung long-term impact ay magiging limitado kung hindi naman ito geared for national industries natin and development of agriculture. With that, I end, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Raul Manuel. Now, going back to the majority, we recognize Representative Edgar Chato.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to our colleagues and the family of DPWH led by Secretary Bonoan. This is my 5th term in Congress, and I have strongly supported the DPWH budget through time. Our infrastructure programs not only provide ease and convenience in moving people and services and products, but most especially, it has the highest impact also in job creation. So this mobilizes the economy even further. Just a few questions, Mr. Chair. Just want to pick up also discussions on flood control and most especially on climate change. Being the chair of the House Committee on Climate Change, I just want to know if there is really now a strong collaboration between the National Irrigation Administration and the DPWH, from planning to the implementation of flood controls, because there are also matters that we need to look into. Water management is very, very important, and it can work to the advantage of the agriculture sector affected by climate change. There are farmlands that after we put flood control ends up without water anymore. The expertise of water flows and irrigation is with NIA, while we are doing also the infrastructure on the part of DPWH. So I think water management and coordination with the two departments is so important, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. Yes, definitely, yes, Your Honor. For 2000, we started in 2003. We now have a convergence program with the Department of, with the National Irrigation Administration for us to make sure that there is a full coordination in the utilization of water resources, not only for flood control, but as I said, to support the food security program of government through the irrigation facilities. So this is the area where the President was telling us that we have to develop water impounding areas, reservoirs, and actually even the flood control projects that are being designed by the department, we can look at it as a possible potential source to support the irrigation production areas of the National Irrigation Administration, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Secretary Bonoan. My other question relates to a matter that is critical on the part of the constituencies and local residents, from the layman's understanding, different from our public works technical requirements. This is about what you call road reblockings. A lot of people, our ordinary citizens, will make comments on roads that we are reblocking, which does not per se look as something that needs immediate repair. And they always comment, and not, unfortunately, it's not only DPWH is being asked to explain, but even the congressman, on why roads that looks good are being reblocked when there are roads that would still need more rehabilitation that are not provided with repair or rehabilitation. We understand that you have standards, but we hope we can get that explanation now so that it will be recorded also and also explained in public, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Your Honor. I think, well, this is a very technical issue, actually, that I want to elaborate a little bit. Reblocking is necessary when there is deterioration that is already predominant in the pavement. And this should undergo actually a technical assessment, whether it is necessary to reblock or not. Otherwise, I would not. I would subscribe to the point that if it's not necessary, then we don't have to reblock. There are other means by which we can improve the riding quality or the rideability of the pavement at one point in time through preventive maintenance, as we call it, preventive maintenance. Now, there are areas where it seems to be that the pavement is looking good, but there are due to engineering assessment, it may already be necessary to replace it, because if we are going to wait it until it is deteriorated completely, it will be more costly. We can save the pavement underneath and put a new pavement on top of it. Actually, this is one of the reasons why. Until such time that, the assessment is that even the base and the sub-base would have been deteriorated, it will be more expensive, Your Honor. But I agree with you that I think it has to undergo an engineering assessment before anything else could have been done, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that information is very important to be understood by the local residents, especially that most of the reblocking projects are not implemented by the local district engineering, but implemented by higher, either region or national. So the information dissemination is most important, so people will understand the technical side of the reblocking. Mr. Chair, my next question is on nationalization of roads. My fifth term in Congress, I was able to nationalize by law 3 long stretches of road in my province of Bohol, and 1 administrative nationalization as well. With the convergence now in place, I have a concern with a 9-kilometer road only that is still provincial. We have submitted it to quite a number of times already for nationalization. Still, we're not able to get the approval. We have not tried administrative, though. We have a question of whether it is still necessary to make it a national road, to expand it, because accidents are happening in this very busy road. It connects from 1st District to traffic in 2nd and 3rd District in the province of Bohol, with a university in between. Only 9 kilometers. And I hope it can be restarted by DPWH quickly. Our regional office and our district office knows this very well. The traffic there is so heavy, heavier than the major highways, because it really connects to the new highway also going to the Chocolate Hills, to Talibon, Ubay, and the other districts. Mr. Chair, this is the Corelia-Balilihan Road. I hope that can be considered in any of the convergence or whatever, Mr. Chair.
Well noted, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I strongly support the manifestation of the Secretary on additional funds for maintenance. Our maintenance men are being rotated, and our district offices are complaining about being able to maintain, so we support that. Even budget also for equipment, because our equipment are now dilapidated, and it is ironic that during the time of emergencies, we are getting outsourced equipment, but we are called a district engineering office or a DPWH. We should be ready in terms of requirement for equipment. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I strongly support that, and I hope the Committee on Appropriations will look also into this matter, which is very critical. And finally, Mr. Chair, this is not a question, but this is just a manifestation. Delays in the implementation of projects, especially in relation to providing basic services to our people, is so important, because services delayed also affects the daily lives of our people. And we understand that there are delays caused also by legal issues. And we hope that our DPWH, the Solicitor General's office, our legal offices, will be working double time to make sure that we shorten the waiting time of our people in seeing to it that the services are delivered to them. This is a manifestation that will really be beneficial to many who will need good roads, who will need good irrigation facilities, who will need water supply, and other basic services that are expected on the ground. I think that's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. And Secretary Bunoan has been a strong partner in the province of Bohol, even at the time when I was serving other positions in government in my 42 years in public service with elected positions. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Secretary Bunoan, and DPWH.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you to our colleague. Now, before I recognize the next interpolator, the chair would like to announce that I will be declaring a lunch break from 12:30 to 1 p.m. So, with that, we now recognize Assistant Minority Leader Marisa Magsino.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair. To the DPWH family, Secretary Banoan, to our esteemed colleagues, magandang tanghali po. This is regarding the Special Road Fund or the Motor Vehicles Users Charge. The Special Road Fund established po under RA 8794 as amended by RA 11239, naka-earmark po ang revenue nito sa administrasyon ng DPWH at dapat lamang pong gamitin solely for the construction, upgrading, repair, rehabilitation ng mga roads, bridges, road drainage. Separate pa po ito sa regular funding ng DPWH. As of December 31 po, 2022, ang balanse po ay 66,188,936. For 2024, ang projected collection po ay 24,595,974, from which ang corresponding proposed expenditure po for 2024 ay 15,232. Ang surplus po nito ay 9,763,974 na that will accrue to the outstanding balance po to the fund. Ang tanong ko po, Mr. Chair, why are we allocating a very small amount of 15,232 from a huge balance of more than 66 billion, excluding pa po yung projected surplus na 9.7 billion for 2024. Naka-earmark po ang revenue na ito, which means that the money is available, deposited sa special account po in the General Fund of the National Treasury. Hindi ko po maintindihan ang reason behind this practice na ang ating po mga national road networks still need a lot of development and improvement. Don't our motorists who sustain the fund deserve better, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, I think in response to the query of the Honorable Congresswoman, well, first of all, we would like to clarify, Your Honor, that the funds from the Motor Vehicle User Charge Fund, actually, is not already a specific program that is being implemented by the department, but the fund is already part of the general appropriations, Your Honor. No? So there is no specific program for under the Motor Vehicle User Charge Fund at this point in time, since it was amended, Your Honor. So this is one of the reasons why we have actually suggested that we have to remand it back to the original intent of the law, that it should be made specific again as a separate program to return it back to road users, actually, Your Honor. And we have proposed a bill for that, actually, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, so kung ganun po, Secretary, siguro it has to be communicated to us kasi this will only be passed kung sakali po meron po manggagaling sa inyong ahensya. And definitely, we will be supporting naman po.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, yes po. Moreover po, yung 15,232 allocation ng Special Road Fund for 2024, 10,481,524 is lodged po sa Central Office or yung National Capital Region po. At yung balance farmed out to the regions down to the individual District Engineering Office all over the country. A review po of the breakdown among the DEO shows that varying amounts of allocation from as high as 155 million to as low as 2.77 million per DEO, such as the 3rd DEO of Batangas, which I'm from Batangas, kaya po alam ko po rito. Why is this huge discrepancy po sa average allocation ng special road fund sa iba't ibang location po ng DEOs in the country, Mr. Chair?
Your Honor, I think, again, we have to clarify this a little bit, because the motor vehicle user charge fund is part of the general appropriations. And the amount that has been determined by DBM up to as part of the budget is being attributed, is in only attribution to the activities that are related to motor vehicle user charge fund. So there is no specific allocation under motor vehicle user charge fund, Your Honor. So what we have done is to attribute actually, the activities under the Daang Maharlika, the activities under the nautical highways, and other road safety issues that were actually prioritized by the legislative districts, Your Honor. So this is what we have done actually, to attribute only the perceived allocation for 2024, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My next question po is about the road right-of-way, Mr. Chair. For the current year, 2023, DPWH has an allocation of 1,600,000,000 for the payments of right-of-way for various completed projects po. I note that the special provision on the budget of DPWH requires that ROW expenses must be settled first before the commencement of the project. The reason being non-settlement of ROW issues before implementation of the projects will be a major cause of delay and a waste of taxpayers' money. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask, why then is the line item labeled payments of ROW for various completed projects, meaning the projects were commenced prior to the settlement of the ROW expenses in violation of the special provision? Are these for prior years unsettled obligations, or may I be clarified on this, Mr. Chair?
Well, Mr. Chairman and Your Honor, implementation of projects, you're right that we have to settle actually the right-of-way acquisition before we start the project. But there are processes involved, actually, Your Honor, for practical intent and purposes, actually because of documentation and the process of the documentation process for being able to pay, actually, the right-of-way takes a little time. And so the process, Your Honor, is, of course, first of all, we cannot start the project if it involves acquisition of right-of-way without the consent of the landowner or the property owner. So there has to be permit to enter, Your Honor, that we have to obtain first before we implement a project, but not necessarily for the payment, Your Honor, because of the, as I said, the documentation process will take some time. And unfortunately, Your Honor, I think after we have documented and ready for payment, well, again, this is what we are saying, that unfortunately, the budgetary allocations for right-of-way has been drastically diminished over the years. In fact, well, I might as well inform the honorable body that the consolidated payables for right-of-way over the years in the Department of Public Works and Highways, as I was told, is almost about 67 billion, yata yung 67 billion. And as you pointed out, Your Honor, in 2023, while we have allocated in our National Expenditure Program 37 billion, only 1.6 billion was was released. But we hope that in 2024, we have again allocated almost the same amount, and hopefully it will be sustained, Your Honor, so we can settle many of our obligations at the time, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, tama po, sinabi po ng Secretary Bonoan ng 2024, ang proposed budget po is 35,126 para sa right-of-way, gigantic increase from the 2023 budget of only 1.6 billion. Okay. Ngayon po kasi the reason why I asked this, a lot of our landowners are complaining na gawa daw po yung road, wala naman pong payment. So that is the reason why ang dami pong mga issues sa korte up to this very moment, ang nangyayari, yung mga settlement of issues and cases. I hope that we will be able to settle this, Secretary, because we also have to bear in mind that the national government projects are intended to benefit the people, but private ownership also has the right to adjust compensation in expropriation cases, although they have to be protected and guaranteed by the Constitution and the law also. I surmise po that the enormous increase is due to the new projects po ng DPWH to implement po yung mga right-of-way. So may I ask po yung mga right-of-way projects natin later on para lang po malaman natin kung saan-saan po mapupunta itong 35 billion na ito. It just has to be submitted po sa committee at sa OFW party list. Mr. Chair, Republic Act number 10752 or the Right-of-Way Act provides that the government through the appropriate housing agencies in coordination with concerned LGUs shall establish and develop resettlement sites for informal settlers who have to be removed from the right-of-way sites. The cost of these resettlement sites and the structures and improvements introduced by the informal settlers in the acquired sites shall be covered by the right-of-way payments. 6/2015 po, Mr. Chair, can we be given prominent example of resettlement areas developed by DPWH for informal settlers affected by the implementation of the national government infrastructure projects pursuant to RA 10752. How many families na po ba ang nag-benefit dito, Mr. Chair?
Before the Secretary replies, the Chair would like to remind our colleague that her time is up for her to wrap up.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Well, Your Honor, I think we'll have to consolidate the exact number of families that we have resettled actually. But yes, we definitely confirm that I think even in the acquisition of right-of-way, the resettlement of families affected will form part of the right-of-way payments, Your Honor. But in many cases, Your Honor, the resettlement issues of families, we are coordinating it with the local government or the national housing authorities. But certainly, Your Honor, we can look into the records of the department on how many families that we have already resettled in many of the projects that we have undertaken, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, so I'm asking po, meron po ba tayong example na mga cited prominent example na mga informal settler families na po na nag-benefit po dito sa mga resettlement areas?
Definitely, Your Honor, particularly in the metropolitan Manila, in Metro Manila area. I am pretty sure that even during my time in the department, we have resettled many informal settlers in the implementation of roads and flood control projects in Metro Manila, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just have to remind that shelter is equally important to our human need, but the provision also is the state has the obligation for our homeless. Maraming salamat po, Secretary Bonoan. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Session is now suspended until 1 p.m. Thank you. Sorry, 1:30 p.m.